In 2013, the atheist philosopher Dennett, he wrote a book called Caught in the Pulpit, Leaving Belief Behind, in which he did some research about clerics who were secret atheists, but continued to perform ritual and preach, but rationalizing the work they were doing as doing some good, but not really believing in the work that they were ultimately doing, which is to lead souls to God. I thought that the whole analysis was fascinating because, I've come across priests who continue on in the priesthood, continue on ministering, but do not actually believe in God. You might think that this is crazy. How could somebody live that life? Well, there comes a moment sometimes when you're too far gone in life to do something else. And if you leave the priesthood, well, where will you go? You're saying, well, look, I'm in my 40s and I'll have no house. What can I do? And so they continue on in their ministry, rationalizing, well, look, I'm doing some good. I'll organize something here to help people, but they do not actually believe in God. And you might think they are a tiny minority, and strangely, they are not. They are not. Usually you can find these priests because they will never be Marian. Never. They will not be Marian priests. They will not promote any Marian devotion. You will rarely see them with a rosary beads, and they will not pray their breviary because they have lost their faith. But they will continue on practicing the priesthood, saying Mass, doing the rote, doing their job, but then filling their time with other things. And I always think that that's a very sad situation to be in, to be not accomplished, to not accomplish what you wanted to do in life, and to be caught in a situation where I can't do anything else now, I'm too old to continue on. And how do we combat that, or how do we stop that type of situation developing? Because it's not isolated. The challenge is to introduce men and women, especially in religious life, but to introduce us into the soul experience of knowing God. And this is the universal call to holiness. This is what Lumen Gentium, so debated in Vatican II, has been speaking about. And there's been oodles of debate about, was Vatican II right? Was it wrong? Etc., etc. But it does provide a challenge to the church. I always think it will challenge the church for decades and centuries to come, because you can have this very rationalistic, manualistic, textbook, classroom faith formation. God is this. This is what theology is. This is what transubstantiation is. This is what canon law is. These are the heresies of the church. This is what you need to know. But never have entered into God's actual presence in prayer. Never have been mentored and guided, like through the mansions that St. Teresa talks about, through that process, what to expect as you journey on the transformational process to union with God. And sadly, we have so many people caught in the pulpit, maybe not just clerics, maybe religious, maybe lay people that work in the church, caught in the pulpit, but far from heaven, in the sense far from God. And I really do think we are living, we are in the golden age of this amazing time in the church, because God is he's sifting out the faithful at the moment. You can see it here in Ireland, what we saw yesterday in Crowpatrick, the dwindling numbers. Well, we will end up with those who really have faith will be left. because we live in this most opulent Ireland that really we've never had it so good, and yet so many have departed from the faith. I mean, to put it into perspective, our life, the ordinary working class person that lives in a 4-bedroom semi-detached, has maybe 2 cars and 2 working jobs, and do you know what I mean? That life that we live today, in reality, is a far higher quality of life than, say, Queen Victoria would have lived in the 1800s. And you might think, well, Robert, that's crazy. How can you compare it? Well, it really is. I mean, today, the simple illnesses that were killing members of our family can be cured with antibiotics. If we think about it, we have sometimes better heating than some of these people had to experience in their great past. And I'm just putting it into perspective. We have never had it so good. Humanity, as the Irish have never had it so good. And yet there's so much depression, so much loneliness, so much isolation, 800 suicides a year, the epidemic of cocaine addiction. People are looking for something. This is happening all over Ireland. And so what are we going to give them? Are we going to stay stranded in our pulpits? Or are we going to launch ourselves into the arms of God? Take that risk of going the distance to that transformational process to union with God. Do we want to go beyond this? I had to struggle with this so much after my time in the seminary. I had to really struggle with this. I said, well, what is the faith? What is the faith? I mean, so much failure in the church, so much corruption. You believe, sometimes you place your faith in men, in leaders in the church, and bishops and priests, and you follow them and you work with them, only for them to live the most double life. And you say, what is this? What is this? It's a lesson. It's a lesson. I don't know if I'm fortunate or what, but I'm always glad that I can fall back on my encounter with Christ that I had when I was 18, starting off in my life. That encounter of love, that real profound an experience I will absolutely never forget. Why doesn't God just do this with everybody? Just reveal himself and show his love. I don't know. I don't understand these mysteries. But I can tell you hand and heart, like, even in the midst of all of this confusion, even in the midst of knowing those caution the pulpit, there is a great amazement and beauty in going the distance to knowing Christ. And that's really where I'd like to encourage people towards. Especially this new generation of religious and priests that are coming up in the church. They are really challenging themselves on forming themselves in the spiritual life. You can see that. Why live a double life? Why live a mediocre life caught in a job you don't really like but you can't leave? It's waiting for retirement, waiting for 65 where you can go off and do something else. That's no life. That's no life for anybody. Especially when the encounter with Christ is so amazing, so beautiful. Launch yourself. And that's why because the world badly needs witnesses at this moment in time. The world desperately needs those that can speak with love and humility of their encounter with Christ. And this is why I always think the greatest thing you could do is to give a glass of water to somebody. I'll always remember that experience with the monks in Mount Athos arriving to the monastery and then bringing out a little tray with a glass of water and a little shot of their liqueur that they serve everybody, and some sweet, that they make in the monastery, and serving. Arriving to Skita Yana, and I see all the clerics arriving in there, but the monk comes to me. I always thought, well, look, they do the simple things with love. It's an example. It's a beautiful example. And all of these small acts of love, as Catholics, as Christians, all of these small acts of love are a participation in what Christ is trying to do in us. You know, to love the other as we would like to be loved, to love them as Christ would like us to love. Because it is an extension of the Eucharist. The Eucharist that we receive can't just remain dead in our hearts after we receive it. That Eucharistic thanking, that giving thanks to God that has come to us, has to extend out into our whole life. That thanks has to arrive to the other that Christ loves, whoever that person may be, and in whatever situation they may be. We have the choice to introduce that love that Christ is trying to do, to participate in his redemption. St. Paul speaks about this. You know, and this is the beauty of the faith. We are called to participate in this, in a way to participate in bringing souls to Christ. Again, there is nothing greater than this soul experience of journeying to God. And it's not going to be all easy. Believe me, if it was, I'd have done it 20 years ago. But there is no other journey. There is no other road. Anyway, I just thought that was interesting, that book, Caution the Pulpit, Leaving Belief Behind. I would challenge people, don't be caught. Launch yourselves. God bless you. Take care. Bye-bye.